In the last session, we had discussed about XPath accesses. So how to interact with the web elements, like how do we locate the web elements using XPath access. So in the last two sessions, we have discussed mostly on the XPath, right? How to write the XPath, how to locate the elements using XPath, related XPath, absolute XPath, and also XPath accesses. So in this session, we'll discuss on methods, some methods which are useful while we are writing the automation scripts, WebDriver methods. So we will see in the coming sessions how to interact with the different kinds of web elements, like input boxes. We do have like check boxes, radio buttons, all these elements, right? So we call these as web elements which are present in the web page. We call them as web elements, and we will actually see how to automate all of the web elements in the coming sessions. So it's all about the automation is all about two things, right? So we have discussed this multiple times. So first part is locating the elements, and second part will be interacting with the elements. Mostly we have learned about till the last session we have learned about how to locate the elements, how to locate the web elements. Now the second part, how to interact with the elements. Interaction is, so on each web element we can perform some action. So how do we perform that action after locating the web element on the web page? So that will be the second step. And before going to that second step, we need to understand some methods. We do have some WebDriver methods, so we'll discuss them. These methods will be useful for us when we are interacting with the web elements. So what are those methods? We do have different kinds of methods. So we do have get methods, conditional methods, browser methods, navigational methods, and wait methods. So we'll discuss on one by one. So let's start with get methods. So what are get methods? Get methods, we do have some get methods. So all these get methods can be accessed through WebDriver instance. So all these get methods can be accessed through WebDriver instance. So what are the different types of get methods we have? We do have different kinds of get methods. So these are all get methods. So using the WebDriver instance, so these are all methods of WebDriver instance. And each of these methods has its own functionality. Like each method does its own task. Say for example, get URL. Get URL opens a specified URL in the browser. And when you say get title, it returns the title of the current page. So each web browser, right? So web page will have a title. So if you wanted to retrieve the title of that page, so we can use getTitle method of the WebDriver instance. getCurrentUrl. So when we are automating or when we are browsing through the internet, right? So the web page will actually navigate to different pages. So according to the navigation, the URL of the URL in the address bar changes. So that we can get it. So at any point of time, at any instance of time, if you wanted to get the URL of your web page, then we can use getCurrentUrl method. getPageSource. So it returns the source code of the web page. So in all the web pages, say for example, this is a web page, right? So if you right click on it and you see some option called view page source. So page source is the source code which is driving this web page. So this might be a combination of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some JavaScript frameworks. So you don't need to understand this, but this is the code which is actually driving this web page. And this is what we call it as source code or page source. And if you wanted to actually find something in the page source, some title or some information about this web page, then we can actually do this view page source and view this, right? And in order to get this source code or page source, we have a method called getPageSource, which returns the source code of the web page. Then the important methods, getWindowHandle and getWindowHandles. So what are these methods? Get window handle. So each window in the browser when we open, so we'll have one handle. So when window, so we call it as handle. It actually means that a ID, a unique ID. So when we open a window in a browser, so each window will have a unique ID, which we call it as a window handle ID or simply handle ID. So if you have a set of window handles for all open, so if you open multiple windows in a browser, right? So then each browser window will have one handle. So all of those we can get it using get window handles. So we'll discuss all of these methods. So we'll see an example on all these methods now. Let me create a new package for today. I'll call this method as day26. We'll create a class. Get method. Okay. First part, what we'll do is we'll create a WebDriver instance and we'll initialize it to Chrome driver class, which actually opens the Chrome browser, launches the Chrome browser, right? Control Shift O, which actually imports the statement, import statement, right? All right. Now we wanted to maximize the window, so I'm going to use this method manage dot driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. We have already seen this. So once the browser gets launched, so it gets maximized. And then driver dot get. We have already seen this from the beginning, from the first script. So get method actually does, so whatever you pass it to it as a parameter, so it treats it as an URL and tries to open that URL in the browser. It actually puts that URL as is in the address bar and it will try to navigate to that particular web page through that URL. So you can see, so when you say driver is an instance of WebDriver initialized to Chrome driver, right? So you can see here, when we say get, right? So you get to see the get methods here. So we don't even need to memorize or, forcefully remember all these methods. So you just need to do dot get, you will get all the related get methods here, right? So get of URL. So you can pass some URL here. So I'm going to pass some URL. We'll navigate to some URL here. So let's execute this. It opens this URL. This is the URL which we have provided to the get method. So it just launches the browser, maximizes it, and then it navigates to the particular URL which we have provided as a parameter to the get method. So get method always what it does, get of URL, takes parameter as URL and it actually opens a specified URL in the browser. That's about get. Next we'll see get title. So what get title will return? It will return the title of the web page. So get title. So what do you mean by title? So if I have this, right, web page, or let's close this. So here you see Google, right? So when you open a new tab, right? So whatever you see on this tab, that's called title. Or you can do inspect, right click, inspect on the web page, and also you can see title here. So when you go to title, you'll see some tag called title, and whatever you see as an inner text between the tags title, open tag and close tag of title. In between that, you'll have an inner text. That's what we call it as a web page title. Or simply you can look here on the tab, it will show you the title. That is what will be retrieved using getTitle method. So let's print that on the console and verify. Title of the web page. Yeah, you can see the title of the web page is a place to practice your automation skills, right? Or you can right click here, do inspect. You can see the title here, or just do Control F and try to find the title. Yeah, you can see the title here, right? So this title has to be displayed. Yes, title of the web page, a place to practice your automation skills, which is present here, has been displayed, right? So you can even write your validations if you want. You know that this is the expected output, right? So you can just get this and write a small if condition if the title is equal to that. So for that, you need to have this driver.getTitle. So getTitle returns string. So you have to have that assigned to some string, and then compare the title with the expected output. And you can say that if the test case is passed or not. I think we have seen that in one of the examples. I'm just not doing that, but if you want, you can write those validations. So the overall point here is driver.getTitle actually retrieves the title of the web page. That's the important thing here. The getTitle method, which actually returns the title of the current web page, right? That's about the getTitle. No, get current URL. Driver dot. What we can do is, so if you do current URL, right? So you'll again get this URL back, right? So instead of that, what we can do is, so let me close this. Automation test store. So we will click on one of these elements. So maybe we'll click on, yeah, we'll click on login, right? So once you click on login, see, first when you navigate with this URL, this will be the URL, right? When you do get current URL, so the web page has this URL. So whatever you navigated, that URL itself will be retrieved, right? So just for a change, what we'll do is, we wanted to see if the current URL is retrieved from this or not, right? So what we'll do is, we'll just click on one of these components. So I'll just click on this first link, and it changes the URL. You can see it was only .com, right? Now when we click on this link, so it changes the URL. It navigates to a different web page. So the corresponding web page has this URL, and we wanted to retrieve this URL, current URL, after navigating to this web page. So that is what we wanted to retrieve. So let's try to automate that. For that, we wanted to click on this link. So right click on this, inspect this element. It's a hyperlink, right? So you can see the anchor tag. You can use selector sub, or even you can use this login or register is a inner text, right? So we can use the inner text as well. Let's use the relay text path. Driver dot find element. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to find the current URL, but after navigating to a different web page. By dot This part. First, we wanted to click on a link. After clicking on the link, then we wanted to find the URL. Now we'll find driver dot get current URL. We are printing it on the console. What's the current URL? Current URL of the web page. So what did we do here? So we are clicking after navigating to this web page. We are just clicking on one of the hyperlinks, and then once it navigates to that page, we wanted to read the current URL. So how we can read the current URL of the web page is we have a method called driver method called getCurrentUrl. So with that we can get the current URL of the web page. Yeah, we can see here current URL of the web page. So this one, right? So this has to match with this one. Yes, it exactly matches with that, right? So that is how you get the current URL of the web page. Next, page source. How do you get the page source? We already discussed what page source is, right? So you right click anywhere and see view page source. You get this underlying source code of that web page, right? So that is what we call it as page source. And how do you get that? Driver dot get page source is a method. Driver dot get page source. Yeah, you can see here the whole page source here has been displayed. Whatever we have seen when we right click and do view page source, the entire source code has been displayed here. It started with this, right here, from here. So this is not that useful for us. Just a method has been given to retrieve the source code. So we are just seeing it, but this is not that useful for us. Next comes the important ones. Get window handle. This returns the handle of the current window. So what do we mean by the handle of the browser window? So when we open a browser window like this, right? So this window will have its own handle, meaning a unique ID. So unique ID will be assigned to this browser window, right? So that will be unique. So every time you run, a browser window gets open, right? So a window handle will be assigned. Window handle is a unique ID assigned to the window. So how do we get that window handle ID is we have a method called getWindowHandle. Using that method, we can get it. Yes. GetWindowHandle, right? So for this, we'll use a different website. So I'm gonna navigate to this URL, right? So this is a URL. I wanted to navigate to this URL. So I'm gonna take this URL and then driver dot get this URL. So it has to open the page. I'm just commenting out the page source, current URL, all the earlier ones I'm just commenting out. Now you can see, so it just navigates to this URL. All right. And then we wanted to retrieve the window handle of it, right? So how do we get the window handle? Driver dot get window handle gives you the window handle of that window. So what does this method return? It returns a string. So the unique ID is a combination of numbers and alphabets. It's an alphanumeric key or alphanumeric string, which is a unique ID for that window, right? So we wanted to store that in a string variable because it returns a string, right? Window handle ID, right? So what did we do here? We just navigated to this URL, one particular URL. We wanted to navigate to this URL, and then we wanted to just get the handle of it. So this is the hand. So you don't see that anywhere here, right? So you can't see that anywhere here. It's internally. It's internal. So it is assigned internally by the browser, and so that will be specific for that window. That ID will be specific to that window. It actually is created dynamically when the window is open. So you can't see that now. So it actually is created at runtime dynamically, and that window handle ID we can retrieve using getWindowHandle that we have displayed here. So let us execute this and verify. Just navigates to that URL. Yeah, that's it. Now if you go back, yeah, you can see the console output, the window handle ID, right? So this window handle ID is not a constant one. So it actually changes every time. So this is specific to this window, right? So in the next one, so you'll not be getting this window handle. So let me run it again and show you. When we run it again, so another window browser gets open, right? So this is not same as the earlier one. So it will have its own window handle ID. So if you see here, the execution is not done yet. So you can see that here with this red button, right? If this red button is still on, so the execution is still in progress. It is taking some time to load this page. Yeah, it is done. And you can see this red button here. So it is grayed out, right? So meaning the execution is done. So if you observe here, the window handle is different. Even though we open the same URL this time, but the window handle is different because every time when we open a browser window, a unique ID will be assigned to that window, browser window. So that is what we call it as window handle ID, right? So, and each time it is unique ID. And you can see it's a alphanumeric combination. Every time it will be unique, even though it's the same window, even though you navigate to a same URL, right? So this is what we call it as window handle, right? Browser window handle. Now, how do we get the set of window handles for all open windows? So what do we mean by that? So in some cases, you might be navigated or some multiple windows will be open. Like say for example, I have something called click here link, right? So if we click on this link, another window got opened, right? So another browser window got opened here. So in such cases, other this is also new window, right? So this window will also have its own window handle. So it will also have its own ID, handle ID, right? So how do we get that in that case? So this is only one, right? In some cases, multiple windows. Let's say for example, it this on clicking this, you might actually this might actually open multiple windows, browser windows, some 3, 4 windows, say for example. And if I wanted to get all the window handles of all these browser windows, so how do we get it? So in this example, if you see, we are going to click on this click here link, and then a window it gets open, and we wanted to get the current window handle as well as the new window which is open. We wanted to get the window handle ID of this newly open window as well. So how do we get it then? So in such case, what we can do is we can use this driver dot get window handles method. So earlier get window handle, it's a unique ID. It's for one window. So it returning string. But this is a get window handles. So it is gonna return a window handles for all the open windows, right? So if you mouse over on this method, you see the return type as set of strings. Set of strings, right? It is returning set of strings. So we can capture this in a set of strings. Set of window handle IDs, right? You can mouse over on this and just import set from java.read package. So each window has its own unique ID, right? And why, if you observe, so it is a get window handles, right? So window handle is a string, fine. So get window handles returns the window handles of all the open windows. Then why can't this be a list of strings? Why it is set? Why it is returning set? Any guess? So this is because set accepts only unique values, and window handles are all unique, right? So list can accept duplicate values as well, but set, it will accept only unique values. So this is the reason the return type has been set as set, right? Set of strings. So this, anyway, we know each window handle ID will be unique, right? So all these are gonna store in a set of strings. No. How do we want it? We wanted to print this set of window handles on the console. We'll just say all window handle IDs. All open window handle IDs. We wanted to display it. We'll just say set window handles, right? But we are missing something here. So when we, after navigating to this, we wanted to click on this link, right? So only then a new window, browser window will be open, right? So we have to click on this, click here. So just right click on it, navigate, locate this element, and you can see click here, right? So we can use the link here. Click here is a hyperlink. So we can use this link text. Driver dot find element by dot xpath or by dot link text. So what is the text here? Click here dot click. It's a hyperlink. So we have to click on it. So once we click on it, a new window gets opened, and then we'll actually get the window handles of all the open windows, and we'll have it in the stored as a set of strings, and that is what we are displaying here. Yeah, see, it clicks on click here link, and a new window has been opened, right? Now let's go back, and you can see this time all open window handle IDs, right? So there are two windows open. So each window has its own window handle ID. And if you can observe, so we didn't comment it out the single window. So when single window was open, so this is the window handle ID of it. So the first window will have the will have an ID, right? So that is what it is. So then we are actually trying to retrieve all the window handles. So the first window handle is this, second window handle is this, right? So you can even display this with for each loop as well, if you want. And again, these window handles are not like fixed ones. So in a different run, when we run it again, so we'll get a different set again. Say for example, let me run it again. Yeah, it's done. And you can see a different set of window handles now, right? These are a different set altogether, right? So why we need this window handles? So we are going to perform some operations on it. Like say for example, I wanted to perform some operation on the newly opened window. Why you open? We usually open the when we click on some link, right? So some new window gets opened, and we wanted to perform some actions on the newly opened browser window. Then we navigate. We have to navigate to that web page or that window altogether, right? So that's not a web page, but that's a different window altogether. So how do we actually set the context from current window to that window? How do we switch? So that we will see in the next session. But how do we do that is using this window handles. We need to switch to that context. Context in the sense we need to switch to the newly opened browser window. So how do we open it? So we have to have something, right? Some identification for that window, which window we wanted to switch to. So we are gonna use this window handles for that, and then we'll switch to that particular browser window, and only then we can perform some operations within that browser window. So to perform, to switch to that different window, so these window handles will be used. So these are all about get methods. Get methods, which are part of the WebDriver instance. Is that clear? Any questions? You can put your response on the chat box. Is that clear? Am I audible? Okay, we will continue then. Next is conditional methods. So what are conditional methods? Conditional methods can be applied on web elements. So on the web element, so web element is also an interface, right? So web element has its own method. So we'll be applying this conditional methods on the web elements. So these are conditional methods are the methods which belongs to the web element. And these conditional methods, they return Boolean. They return Boolean value. Boolean is either true or false. So for this, we'll take an example of different example. This say demo dot. Yeah, you can see this website, right? So we are going to discuss the conditional methods here, right? So what are the different conditional methods available? We'll see that there are 3 conditional methods. You can see isDisplayed. So what is isDisplayed? IsDisplayed method checks if the element is displayed on the web page or not. So on the web page, there will be different web elements, right? So in order to find if a particular web element is displayed on the web page or not, So then we can use this method called isDisplayed. We'll locate the element first, and on that element, so when we do find element and locate the element, web element is written, right? And on that web element, will use the method. So web element method called isDisplayed. So which actually will return true if that element is displayed on the web page, will return false if the element is not displayed on the web page. So that is what isDisplayed method does. And isEnabled is another method. So which actually checks if the element is enabled or not. Enabled in the sense, so if you take some input box, right? So say for example, this search store, right? So a cursor is getting blinked and you can type in some text here, right? Like this. So that is what enabled is. So if this is grayed out, you'll have the input text field, but you will not be allowed to enter some text, right? So it will be grayed out. You can't enter it. It will be only read-only field. It will not be editable. So in that case, so this we call it as it is not enabled. This web element or this input box is not enabled is what we'll say, right? So according to that, if you see this method, this is what it returns. Web element dot is enabled. So it will actually gives you, it will check and it will let you know that if the element is enabled or not. If the element is enabled or not, right? And isSelected. isSelected is another method which checks if the element is selected or not. Is selected or not, right? This is useful for checkbox and radio buttons. So we do have checkbox and radio buttons. We'll have, right? Checkboxes are used for multiple selection and radio buttons are used for single selection, right? From multiple options, we can only select one option using the radio buttons, and checkboxes, we can, at the time, we can select multiple options using the checkboxes. And in order to actually know the status of this selection, checkbox and radio button selection, we can use this method called isSelected, right? So these are the methods which we call it as conditional methods. And each of these methods returns Boolean value, either true or false, based upon the condition, right? Now we'll see an example of this. Now, first we will see isDisplayed method. So I wanted to see if this logo, you can see this NOP Commerce logo, right? So I wanted to see if this image or logo is present or not, or is displayed on the web page or not, right? So I wanted to check that. So for that, what we need to do, we just need to navigate to this URL first, and then we need to locate this element. We need to locate this element, right? So go to selector sub, and you can just get this related to XPath, right? So before that, let's actually create a new class. We'll call this as conditional methods. I'm just creating a WebDriver instance here and initialize it to Chrome driver so that a Chrome browser gets launched. And I'm going to maximize the window, Chrome browser window. All right. Now we wanted to see how isDisplayed works. This is a method isDisplayed, which actually returns true if a particular web element is displayed on the web page or not. And what we wanted to find, we wanted to locate this element, right? So selector sub and then just get its related XPath, driver.find element, by.xpath, and then just provide this XPath here. So this actually selects the web element logo. So this is, you can see here, the highlighted part. So this actually, whatever XPath we have selected here, right? So this is actually highlighting this logo and we wanted to, so this actually returns, find element returns web element, right? So this web element dot, you can say isDisplayed. isDisplayed. See, when you say is, you will get three options, right? Three possibilities: isDisplayed, isEnabled, and isSelected. So isDisplayed is what we wanted to find it out. So isDisplayed method, what it returns? It returns Boolean, right? It returns Boolean. Is logo displayed is what we wanted to find it out. Or you can do one thing, like you can have this in a web element, and then on top of that, you can actually use this isDisplayed as well. Anything will work. So till this point, right? So we are finding the element. This returns the web element. See, this returns a web element. On top of web element, on the web element, we are using this method called isDisplayed. And isDisplayed returns Boolean. We have captured that in a Boolean variable. Okay, we have not navigated it. Driver dot get. We need to navigate to the URL, right? So first we need to navigate to the URL. To this URL. After navigating to the URL, we wanted to find if the logo is displayed on the web page or not. So we have located the logo, and then what did we do? And you can see here, it actually says true, right? Is logo displayed? So it is true, right? It says that the logo is present, is displayed on the web page. So this is the use of isDisplayed method. So it actually gives you the information, the status of the web element, that if it is displayed on the web page or not, right? So mostly we'll be using this for the images. So this is about isDisplayed method. Now let's see isEnabled. Next one, isEnabled method. So for this, we can navigate. See, isEnabled is like if the if the text box or any box, right? So any input field is enabled or not. That we wanted to check. For that, we can click on register. We can even do on this as well. This is also an input field. So anyway, we wanted to check this radio. We wanted to have this radio buttons and checkbox also. So we'll just navigate to this URL, this register, and then what we'll do is we will select this text box, first name or last name here, and we'll see if this input field is enabled or not, right? So for that, first we need to navigate to this URL. So let's navigate to this URL first. Driver.get. So this URL, register. So once we navigate to this, we wanted to find this first name field, if it is enabled or not. So we need to inspect this element, first name, right? First name. Go to selectors of, get the related XPath of it, and then driver.find element by.xpath. I haven't copied this. First name, right? Now, what we wanted to do, this actually gives us the web element first name. Now, what we wanted to find on the first name, we wanted to see if it is enabled, or not, right? Is it enabled? Enabled in the sense, if it is, we can only enter the text if the if this input field is enabled. If this is disabled, you can't enter the text into this input box, right? So we have to always, it's a good practice, always to verify if the input field is enabled or not. So if it is enabled, then we can go ahead and use the send keys method to pass some text into it. Again, isEnabled method is also returning Boolean, right? So we can capture that into a Boolean. Is first name enabled. So we are just capturing the status of is enabled of first name in a Boolean variable, right? So if it is enabled, this has to return true. If it is not, then it will display false. Right, opens the window, navigates to the URL, particular URL, and verifies if first name is enabled or not. And you can see his first name enabled is true. So it is enabled, so it is returning true, right? I'm just looking for any field which is disabled. So it is not there. But anyhow, like if any input field is disabled, right? That is, if you can't, it is grayed out. You can't enter text into that input field. Then isEnabled method will return false. It will return false, right? In this case, it is enabled. We are allowed to enter some text into the input field. So this field is enabled and it is written true. Now, next method is selected. This checks if the element is selected or not. So this is mainly useful for the checkbox and radio button. So we'll see some checkbox and radio buttons. So we do have here radio buttons. So first let's do the radio button. See radio buttons. Radio buttons, you can at a time you can only select one radio button, one option, right? So you have male and female. So you can only select one of these options. Those buttons are called as, those web elements are called as radio buttons, right? So you can either select male or female here, right? And we wanted to see which one is selected. We wanted to know the status of this selection, which one is selected. So for that, we need to inspect this element. So we can see this one, right? Oh, this is the radio button. So if you see this, yeah, this is what you need to actually, so the highlighted part here, right? So this is what we need to see. This is the radio button, right? So we have to mouse over on this exactly. And then you will get the relative XPath here with the ID, right? Gender male. So we'll use this. Driver.find element. It's XPath. And this is the radio button element, right? So let's actually, this find element returns a web element, right? So let's capture this in a web element object. We'll call this as, it's a radio button, right? So we can call it as, I'll just radio button mail, right? Now, okay, this web element, you just need to import it from arc.openqa.selenium package. Now, in the same way, we wanted to get the web element for female as well. This another radio button. So just mouse over on this, you'll get the ID. Get it here and do driver.find element y.xpath and have your XPath written here for the female, right? It also returning web element. Find element returns web element. This is also a radio button, right? So we have two web elements now. We have two elements now for the each web element, for each radio button. Now, what we are going to do? We just wanted to know before selecting any. So once you navigate to this, right? So just navigate to this URL. Once you navigate, none of this is selected, right? So we wanted to check the status of these buttons before selecting. Before selection, right? Before selection, what's the status? What's the status of this radio button? R button dot mail is selected is what we wanted to find. You can just put some label here just to know the status. Mail selected, mail radio button selected, and then the web element radio button mail dot e selected. So e selected method returns true if male is selected. If it is female selected, so we wanted to know the status of that as well, right? So we'll have female radio button selected. We wanted to know the status of this. First, let's do it till here, right? That is done, and you can see both are false. So once you for the first time when you navigate, right, both these radio buttons are not selected, right? Both of them are not selected. None of them are selected. So that's the reason we see the output as false for both the cases. Now we'll select one of them. So we'll click on one of them, right? And then we'll check the status. So which one will select? Radio button dot, maybe. First we'll click on mail. And then we'll find the status again. So what did we do here? What are we doing? We are just navigating, right? So we are navigating to this URL, and then before selection, just after navigating to this URL, what's the status of the radio buttons we are displayed. And then what we are interested in, we wanted to click on one of the radio buttons. And after clicking that, what's the status? What's the status? We wanted to see if both are false in first case, right? So in second case, this was selected, right? We clicked on it. So this has to be turned true. And the second one still should remain false. We'll see that now. See, mail radio button has been selected. And you can clearly see that after male selection, right? After male selection, male radio button selected is true, female radio button is still remains false according to this status, right? Now, you can even have one more space here. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select female radio button. We are going to select female radio button. Earlier, we selected male radio button, right? Now, after female selection, what's the status we wanted to see? Yeah, you can see female has been selected here. And if you go back, see before selection, both are false. After male selection, male is true and female is still false. And after female selection, if you select female radio button, So male will be false and female radio button will be true, right? So this is what the expectation is, and it is working as expected. So isSelected method, we can use it for radio buttons to know the status of the radio buttons, which radio button has been selected. So to know that status, we can use this, right? So in the first case, both were false. After when we select female, male, then this will still remain false. Male radio button will be true. Here in this case, male radio button will be false and female radio button will be true. This is what we have seen, right? No, we'll check for the checkboxes. Same thing, we'll check for the checkboxes. So if you scroll down, so we do have some small checkbox here. See, it's by default enabled, right? Or selected. So it is selected by default, right? So we'll inspect this element. We'll try to find the status of this. The current status of this checkbox. Mouse over on this checkbox exactly. Then you will get the ID. Driver dot find element by dot export. So this is a checkbox, right? And we wanted to see if it is selected or not. Is selected. Is selected returns Boolean, right? Boolean. Is newsletter selected? We are getting the status of it, if it is selected or not. By default, it is selected, right? So it has to return true. That's our expectation. It is by default, it is selected. So it says is newsletter selected true, right? You can say is newsletter checkbox selected is what we can verify, right? Now, if I wanted to unselect it, right? So I wanted to unselect it. So how can we unselect it? Again, it's just a click, right? So to select also it's a click, or to unselect also it's a one click, right? So what we'll do is, okay, we can capture this in a web element. I'm just modifying the code. We wanted to perform more than one operation, right, on this. So we'll capture this web element. New check. This is a checkbox, right? So checkbox. We will capture that here, and this element, if it is displayed or not, is what we wanted to verify. Is selected or not, right? Now see, the same thing, I just modified it because I wanted to use this web element again. I wanted to click on that web element again. So we just execute it again, and you can see is newsletter checkbox selected. It is true, right? All right. Now what we can do is, I wanted to click on it. So single click. So what it does, it actually is already selected. So it has to unselect it. So it is true now. Currently, it has to become false. We are unselecting newsletter. Is newsletter checkbox selected is what we are verifying, right? So we are clicking on it and we wanted to verify the status of it. So by default, it is selected, right? So it is by default, it is isElected will return true. But if you see, if you see, it actually clicked on it, so it got unselected. It got unselected, right? So if you go back, is newsletter checkbox selected? True. Is newsletter checkbox selected? False. Is newsletter checkbox selected? Or you can say after click, after selection. After unselection. After unselection, is newsletter checkbox selected? This will be false, right? Yeah. See, it's unselected, and you can see is newsletter checkbox selected true by default. After unselection, is newsletter checkbox selected false, right? You can just say newsletter checkbox selected also. Okay. So this is all about the conditional methods. So conditional methods, we have three conditional methods. So is displayed, so is enabled and is selected. So is selected is used for radio buttons and checkboxes. To know the status of the checkbox and radio buttons, we can use is selected method. Is enabled method is used to check if you wanted to have some text, right? Enter some text into some input field. So you that field has to be enabled, right? You can even have is enabled for this radio buttons and checkboxes as well. So if it is enabled or not. Sometimes the checkbox are radio buttons, right? So will be grayed out, will not be allowed for selection. So you can actually use them if it is enabled, only then you can actually go ahead and select them, click them, right? And after clicking, you can check the status if it is selected or not. So is enabled can be used for checkbox and radio buttons also along with the input fields. And is displayed can be used for any web element, but mostly, right? So is displayed, we use it for for looking the objects, right? Say for example, some image, if it is displayed or not. So I wanted to know the status of it on the web page. So then we can use is displayed method. So this is all about the conditional methods. Now we'll see browser methods. So there are two browser methods available. So browser methods are can be applied on the browser windows. So what are these methods? We do have two methods, two browser methods, close and quit. So when we use this driver.close, it closes the current browser window. And when we wanted to close all the browser windows and in the WebDriver session, we can use the quit method. So when we use quit method, it closes all the open browser windows and ends the WebDriver session. When we use close, driver.close, then it closes the current browser window. So we'll see an example. We can take the example of this get methods. We'll just copy it and we'll call it as browser methods. Yeah, we can I just removed it and then so we'll just navigate to this URL. And we wanted to, once it is open, right? So we'll close this window. So once it is open, once it is navigated, we wanted to close this, right? So we don't need window handles and all here. I'll just remove this. Just comment it over for now. We just navigate it, right? And then we'll close that window. So what did we do here? Simple. We just launched the Chrome browser and navigated to this URL and we are just closing it. So we use close method to close the current browser window. It opens, it navigates to the URL, and it will immediately close it. Yeah, see, connection reset. Okay. So sometimes like driver.close actually returns the connection reset error. Like if the WebDriver instance is not closed correctly. So in that case, we can use driver.quit as well. So, and the driver.quit is used for a different reason. So I'll show you that as well. So when we click on this, we don't need all this window handles. We'll click on this link. What will happen? And I'm gonna get this driver.close here. So it's very simple, right? So we are navigating to an URL and then finding an element, click here, right? So we know this click here, when we click on this click here, it will open a new browser window, right? So this is the URL, and when we click here, a new browser window gets opened. Now we wanted to close this browser window, right? So let's do driver.close. And now observe what happens. So it clicks on click here, a new window gets opened, and if you observe, see, the current window got closed, but still another window is still open. The new window is still open. This is because when we use driver.close, what it does, it actually closes the current browser window only. It only closes the current browser window. That is the one which WebDriver is pointing to, right? WebDriver will be pointing to the current web page. It just clicked on click here link. So it doesn't know about the new window. It doesn't know the status of about the what happened after that, after clicking that. The new window got opened, but it has no clue about the new window, WebDriver, right? But still WebDriver is still on the current web page. That is the old page, which actually has driven this, which actually has opened this new window, right? And when we use driver.close, so as WebDriver is still pointing to that window, the current browser window from which where we have seen this click here link. So that window will be closed when we say driver.close. But our requirement is to close all the windows, all the open browser windows. So in that case, we can use, instead of driver.close, we can use driver.quit. It actually closes all the browser windows. Now observe. It clicks on click here. So two windows gets opened. Yeah, boom. So it is very fast. It just closed all the windows, right? So this window was opened earlier. So let me show you. So we can add some wait time here. We'll see what this means. But for now, you can just think it of like this is a wait time. We can use thread.sleep. We'll discuss more about this in the coming sessions. So this is used to actually have a wait time. So wait time in the sense, so after performing this action, right? So it just will wait for 3 seconds. So this number is in milliseconds here. So 3000 is 3 seconds. It will wait for some 3 seconds. We just wanted to see what's happening, right? So I am just adding some wait time here, and then we'll call driver.quit so that all the open browser windows has to be closed. Yeah, see, it clicks. Yeah, you can see two windows now clearly, right? And it closes all the windows. That is, two browser windows have been closed. Earlier, when you use driver.close, only the current window which the WebDriver is pointing to, right, has the context in, has been closed. But when we use driver.quit, it closes all the browser windows and ends the WebDriver session. So another important interview question. So what's the difference between driver.close and driver.quit, right? So what's the difference between close and quit methods of the WebDriver? So both actually closes the browser windows, right? Then what's the difference? So close method actually closes the current browser window, current context in which the WebDriver is pointing. So that window will be closed. But quit method actually closes all the open browser windows, and it also ends the WebDriver session. So that's the difference between close and quit methods. These are the browser methods. So this is all about the browser methods. And in the next session, we'll discuss about the navigational methods and also wait methods. Maybe we can't cover both in one session. So if we can't cover both in one session, then we'll have two sessions to cover navigational methods and wait methods. So we need wait methods because like when you navigate, right? When you navigate to a URL and when you wanted to perform some actions, so immediately the page might not be loaded. So it might take some time. So in such case, we need to add some wait times, like how we added here, right? Thread.sleep. So this is a method, but we are going to use a different. This is not the Selenium method, right? So this is a Java method to add a wait time. So we are going to use Selenium wait methods. So that we'll see all wait methods. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages of each wait method? That we are going to discuss. And that is very important in the interview perspective as well. And we are also going to use that in the automation skills. Very important topic. So that we'll see in the coming sessions. And we also will see navigational methods. What are the different navigational methods available in the coming session. So in this session, we have discussed about like get methods, different get methods available, which are part of WebDriver instance, and conditional methods, which are part of web element interface. So web element, these conditional methods return true or false, and we have seen examples on each of these methods, and we also see browser methods, close and quit, and we discussed the difference between close and quit. So I can give you some assignment, so you can work on this for today. You can just navigate to this URL and you see some fields here, right? So you can see checkboxes, radio buttons. So you can practice, like you can locate these elements, radio buttons, checkboxes, and see each, and you can use all these methods, which we discussed today. And also you have input fields, right? You can see if these are enabled or not, and enter some text into it if it is enabled. And also these radio buttons, check if it is enabled. And then if it is enabled, select it. And then after clicking on our selection, then you can find the status of these radio buttons and checkboxes and so on. That you can take it as an assignment and practice. Use all the above methods. This will be the assignment for today. And any questions? Is that clear, today's session? If you have any questions, you can put it on the chat. Or if you want, I can unmute you. Okay, it is clear, right? So we'll meet in the, so I'm just stopping here.